Hello, all you happy people. That's right, it's time for the Dan Wickline Show again. We're back. I told you I'd be doing these shows about 4 o'clock on Sundays, Pacific time. And I didn't even get screwed up by the time change. Aren't you proud of me? It's been a weekend, man. Had the Dodgers, evening, Mr. Nope, had the Dodgers come back and win the World Series on just some amazing play, just absolutely amazing stuff. And, it was great, great World Series. But, they go in and they get just absolutely lambasted the first game. And then Yamamoto comes out and pitches a shutout, or a complete game in number two. Then that 18-inning monstrosity, and the Dodgers are up 2-1. And then they got two home games, but the Toronto Blue Jays wins both of them. So then they're going back up to Toronto, and you're thinking, wow, this is done. They just need, Toronto needs one win in their own home park. And no, just Dodgers come in, and Yamamoto again pitches game 6, gets the win, and then comes in for the last 3 innings of game 7. That is a lot of pitching, and that guy was just dead on. So, hey, Ed, good to see you, sir. Still looking into what we talked about last week. So I haven't had any luck on that particular thing, but I'm working on it. So, and I hope you're feeling better. Or, feeling a little stronger. So, all right, guys. And then just to add to my little sports heaven weekend, my Panthers went into Green Bay 2 touchdown underdogs. Okay? They expected Green Bay just to go, hey, here, come here, little kitty. Come here, little kitty. Smack, smack. Did not happen. Quite the opposite. It was a tight game until the end, and Green Bay tied it up, and then the Panthers went down the field and kicked a field goal to win it. So, could not have asked for a better sports weekend. I think even the Lakers won. So it's just, again, I know it's weird. LA guy supports the Lakers, supports the Kings, supports the Dodgers, and then the Carolina Panthers. But, I explained that once before. So, all right, guys. World of the world of the superhero movies and TV shows and stuff, it's a little quiet right now. There's not a lot going on. We got Wonder Man coming up. We got a lot of talk about Lanterns and what kind of show that's going to be. Those kind of things, but no new announcements, no debuts, no premieres. It's kind of this weird lull. I mean, we just finished up with Peacemaker. We had Marvel Zombies, and now we're kind of waiting for the next thing. So I got other things. I got to watch other things, right? I watched Only Murders in the Building season 5, and while I enjoyed it, it wasn't as good as the previous ones to me. It was a little more comedy and a little less mystery. And for me, I need the mystery. I'm looking forward to the next Knives Out movie, Wake Up Dead Man. I think that's going to be awesome. It'll be good to see Jeremy Renner in it, Glenn Close. And if Ryan Johnson continue, I think is it Ryan Johnson, the director of those? If he continues doing the thing he's been doing, that means the killer's either going to be Jeremy Renner or Josh Brolin or maybe Glenn Close, because his killers are always somebody from Marvel movies. So I think it's probably going to be Jeremy Renner, just to fill the trifecta. The original Hulk, the original or Captain America. I mean, he does like to pull from the MCU for his movies. So Ed says, "Are you watching Welcome to Derry? It's a prequel series to the It movie. 2 episodes in, it's been really good. I know you're not big in horror, but thought I'd ask because they are doing it as a horror mystery kind of thing." When I was a kid, I hadn't really locked in on my distaste for horror. Um, Amityville, I saw the trailer for Amityville when I went to go see Superman of all things, and that jacked me up. But I remember watching some of the Stephen King miniseries with Richard Thomas and uh, the young, yeah. No, I am not watching it. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get to. That is Stephen King is an amazing writer. I have read some of his books. I've read his book on writing, or I listened to his book on writing. That's an experience, by the way. If you're a Stephen King fan and you haven't listened to his book on writing because you're not a writer, why would you? Well, I recommend getting it on audiobook because he reads it himself. It's because it's not just on writing. It is 3 parts. The first part is kind of a history of Stephen King told by himself. He talks about what he was doing when this book was written, what that book was written, and a lot of it was drugs, by the way. A lot of what he was doing was drugs. There are books that he put out that he honestly doesn't remember writing. That he was so high that he does not remember them at all. So that's a fascinating listen, that part. Then there's a second part that talks about writing, but it's not about the technical aspect. It's just about kind of how he gets into the mindset, his approach, what he does, and that's kind of fascinating too. But then there's a third part to the book. It's a smaller part. It's not like equal shares, but it's this third part to the book. And what it was is when he was writing the book is when he got hit by a van. You know, the guy that hit him, and he wasn't very happy about it. And he kind of goes off, and the third chapter or the third part of the book is him just bitching about this guy and just so much. It's like just a pure vitriol, and he's reading it himself. And you can tell he's still angry when he's reading it. So you get this great biography of King written by, or voiced by King, and then you get this part about how he approaches the craft, and then you get angry Stephen King. And Tone and I listened to it while we were driving to one of the conventions one time. And normally he and I will listen to stuff, we'll make jokes as we're going, and this was we were enraptured by this. We were just like, yeah, and yeah. So Stephen King has a book called On Writing. And again, I recommend the audiobook because it's Stephen King himself reading it. And it is just something very unique, All right, let me check out with the topics here. I have all the Stephen King hardcovers. It's funny because my favorite movie of his isn't even horror. Is Shawshank. Excellent movie. Everybody loves Shawshank. Shawshank is in that almost, okay, I'm going to rephrase it. Almost everybody loves Shawshank because there's a list of movies that you could probably find 99% of people like if they've seen it. Shawshank is one of them. The Princess Bride is another one, even though Jim Beard exists in the world. So that's why I don't say everybody loves these movies. There are a handful of movies that everybody loves. And I think Princess Bride and Shawshank are on there. There's one I think should be on there, but I don't think enough people have seen it, and that's the movie Silverado. Hey, Jason, how you doing, bud? So, by the way, if you haven't seen Silverado, oh my God, Silverado is wow. Silverado is a throwback Western with a cast that no other movie could have afforded. It just got everybody at just the right time. It's your five or your main characters are Scott Glenn. Yeah, most people could afford, most movies could afford him. Kevin Costner, Kevin Kline, and Danny Glover. Those are your four main cowboys. Then the rest of the cast is Jeff Goldblum, Brian Dennehy, Jeff Fahey. It's not Helen Hunt, but it's the Oscar award-winning woman, the shorter stature. She was on NCIS Los Angeles. Silverado, not Desperado. Silverado. Rosanna Arquette's in it. John Cleese is in it. John Cleese is in it because he had heard that his buddy was somebody was making a Western, and he was like, I want to be in a Western. I've never been in a Western. So John Cleese comes in and does an amazing role. It is just, it's exactly the kind of movie that a Western is supposed to be. There's the good guys, there's the bad guys. It's pretty clear cut. The neighbor from Home Improvement, Earl Hindman, is one of the characters, and he's a good guy. It's like I said, it's just a pure fun movie. And it's one of my favorites. It's up there. Another one I don't know if it would make the list, but I absolutely love that not a lot of people talk about is Dead Again. Dead Again is with Kenneth Branagh, his wife Emma Thompson, Wayne Knight's in it, Derek Jacobi, Andy Garcia, and it's all about past life regression. Robin Williams in it too. This is before Robin Williams really got to do a lot of serious roles, and he got to play a very serious guy, but it's just all of a sudden he shows up and you're like, that's freaking Robin Williams, But that's a really cool movie. And so then check that out. Never heard of Silverado. Oh my God. Yeah. What happened was Kevin Costner was, if not a lot of people know this, Kevin Costner was in the movie The Big Chill, but got cut. I think more people know that part of it. He was the friend that committed suicide. There was supposed to be a scene with him in it, and they decided to skip that and just go straight for he's the guy that died. Well, to make up for cutting him, Lawrence Kasdan put him in Silverado. And he and Scott Glenn are brothers. Danny Glover and Kevin Kline are both great characters, and they're all traveling together to the town of Silverado. And you find out that the town is pretty much run by corrupt people, but it's like they create a villain to match to each hero. So Kevin Costner is up against Jeff Fahey, Kevin Kline versus Brian Dennehy, Danny Glover versus Jeff Goldblum. That, by the way, right there should be enough for admission. Yeah, it is one of my favorite. It is definitely my favorite Western. And I know there's some great Westerns out there, Unforgiven. Yeah, but Silverado is the one if it's on the TV, I am going to watch it. So, yeah, maybe that's the category I should put it in. If these are on the TV, you stop and watch them. So, yeah, I'm going to have to make that list. Maybe there'll be an episode one night. A list of movies that Dan says that everybody will stop and watch if they're on. I also believe Major League or Replacements will be on that list too. But it says, speaking of Kevin Costner, one of my favorite movies of his after Field of Dreams is A Perfect World. Have you seen A Perfect World? A Perfect World? That one doesn't ring a bell. I love his movie For the Love of the Game, where he's the older pitcher. Perfect World. Is that with Eastwood? I have not seen this. Butch, an escaped state prisoner from a Texas jail, kidnaps Philip, a young, impressionable boy, as they embark on a trip across the American Southwest together. A surprise. Wow, it's directed by Eastwood. Yep, going to have to put that on the list. Thanks for pointing that one out, Ed. Yeah. By the way, Jason, if you're still listening, are you feeling any better, bud? My friend Jason here, he's the cover artist for the Lucius Fogg books, but was at a gas station a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and saw somebody trying to take steel from the place and tackled them against their car, pinned them, and then took them to the ground and held them there till the police came. And in doing so, broke his collarbone, the tip of his collarbone. So I am hoping, Jason, you're feeling better if you're still there. If you're not, but I do hope you're feeling better. And you're a hero. I've shown that video you sent me to a couple people. They think it's awesome, especially when you're narrating it. So yeah, I know I'm kind of all over the place tonight. I'm more concerned about making sure I get the show back and rolling, so I don't necessarily have all the great topics right now, because it's starting to slow down. Hollywood's slowing down. So this was interesting. Do you know that this month at the box office is one of the lowest in 30 years? It's like 1998. Yeah, in almost 30 years. It is the lowest since 1998. And it's, the movie theaters are reeling. It is like 450 some odd million. It is not good. And I think they're skipping the pandemic when they talk about this. But the thing is, this could have been very different. This could have been one of the best Octobers ever. 2018's was 800 million, like 814 million, and that could have been surpassed, or at least close to, because the second Batman movie was supposed to come out this month when they originally scheduled it. Now we won't get it till 2027. It hasn't even started filming yet, but it was it's supposed to have come out and had it. The original Batman movie, The Batman, made over 330 million in the first month. I think the sequel will do better than the original, both building on the goodwill towards DC now that the James Gunn stuff is coming out, plus the success of the Matt Reeves Batman himself and the Penguin, and the fact that it's Batman. So I think it probably could have pulled 400 to 500 million in the first month, and that would have taken the 450, given us the best month ever. But nope, no Batman. So let's see. No, they're not blaming James. No one's really blaming anybody. It's just there really wasn't any big films that came out this month, but there was ones originally scheduled. And I think also Tron Ares didn't do that well. which I don't know why anybody is surprised because I don't think the other Tron movies did all that well. What's funny is the original Tron movie came out. I want to paint you guys to get a picture in your mind. Two different sci-fi movies that came out at the same time. Just visually, tonally, historically, how different these two movies are. So Tron, which always struck me as this badly lit game, you're inside a game thing that really needed some work. I was never a Tron fan. Came out the same year as Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a freaking masterpiece. And Tron, it just looks like, it looks about 3 years. When it came out, it looks like it should have been about 5 years old when it came out. So, like it was still behind in technology, where Blade Runner looked amazing. The streets, the tech, just everything. All right, it says, did you hear about Robert Englund getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Halloween Day? I didn't, but that is awesome. The Hollywood Walk of Fame. I grew up thinking that was just this awesome, awesome thing. And no knocks against the people that have stars on the Walk of Fame. But sadly, it's not as hard to get a star on the Walk of Fame as one might think. I think there's like 3 criteria, and one of them is you have to be prominent in one of the major entertainment industries: radio, film, television, writing. I mean, there's different things, and then the other 2 things are, you need to have a petition with, I don't think it's 100,000 names. I think it's quite a bit less than that. Maybe it's 10,000, but it's a petition with name signatures on it. And then it's cash. And that's why you'll see a lot of stars getting their actors getting their stars right around the time a new movie's coming out, because the promotional department of that movie or that company are the ones going out going, okay, let's get him a star, so it'll be his day, and all this, they'll cover it. So as much as I love the idea, and Robert Englund deserved one, if anybody did or does, but yeah, it's a little rigged. So, not to knock it, but it's just the reality of it. So, all right, let's shift gears. So I watched a new show this weekend, and it wasn't one I was planning to watch. And that's Chad Powers. Now, again, I'm not a horror guy. I'm not a sitcom guy. And Chad Powers came across to me like it was going to be a sitcom. This guy decides to pretend to be somebody else to play football again after screwing things up. And I'm also like, I remember the commercial. I remember Eli Manning doing it, where he, is bored with having been retired, decides to put on the gear and try out for a college team, and, gets the big fake nose and all this stuff, and goes out, and it's an ESPN commercial. I think it's an ESPN commercial, but it's a commercial with Eli Manning. So it's like, is that really the basis for a thing? Plus, it's not even that original, because years before that, Deion Sanders did the same thing. And if you don't remember that, or if I am just trying to jog your memory, Deion Sanders had a commercial where he was on set talking about the current uh, cornerbacks and how bad they were, and that he could, still lace them up today. And what he did was he went to the scouting combine and he signed up, and he put on a big afro wig, and went out there. And when he went to sign up, they're like, "What's your name?" And he goes, Leon, Leon Sandcastle." And it all becomes about Leon Sandcastle and all that. And I got to tell you, it was pretty damn funny when he did that. So when I saw the Eli Manning version, I'm like, you're just doing the same thing you did with Leon Sandcastle. So I really had no interest in watching this show. But then a bunch of things happened. TikTok, for some reason, loves to show clips from TV shows. And that's kind of how I got into Ted Lasso. I didn't get a chance to watch Ted Lasso because I didn't have Apple Plus TV or whatever the hell it is. So I kept seeing all these clips from Ted Lasso. And you hear great things about a show, but you watch these clips and you're kind of going, okay, I kind of get it. I see these clips, I kind of get it. So when I had the chance, I did an Apple free weekend. I sat down and I watched Ted Lasso, and oh my God, it was amazing. Love Ted Lasso. So for the last week or so, I've been watching on TikTok or on the different social media, and I'm seeing all these scenes about Chad Powers. And I'm seeing these emotional scenes, and I'm like, I kind of get this. I kind of see where they're going with it. It doesn't seem as sitcom-y. It's starting to feel a little more Ted Lasso. And then I remembered, Ted Lasso started as a commercial as well. NBC had hired Jason Sudeikis to do some commercials to promote, it was either the World Cup or the Olympics, but soccer and the Olympics. And he did the Ted Lasso character, but he was a little more of a jerk in the commercials. But it was kind of interesting. So it's like, all right, I'm starting to see some parallels. So I talked to Lisa about it, and I said, hey, maybe this weekend we try out this show, Chad Powers. It's only 6 episodes. It's supposed to be a comedy. She likes sitcoms, so that wouldn't scare her off. And then 2 things happened that kind of solidified it even more for me. I found out Michael Waldron was one of the writers on it. And Michael Waldron is the guy that wrote Loki, the Loki series. So I'm like, all right, I like that. I like Michael Waldron's writing. He also did Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I could see this. And then Lisa looked it up and said, and made a different comparison, where I was kind of doing the Ted Lasso comparison to it. She went, okay, so he screws up in the Rose Bowl and tries to regain his life by doing a Mrs. Doubtfire. And as soon as she said that, I'm like, that's it. It's the sports version of Mrs. Doubtfire. And that is incredibly accurate. It is. I like Glenn Powell because of this, because I'm enjoying him as an actor. It is a weird movie. It's a weird series. But I will warn you one thing. I enjoyed it. We watched all 6 episodes last night. They're all 30 some odd minutes long. So it's not a huge commitment to watch the series. There's enough inside football stuff that if you're a sports fan, you're like, yeah, but not so much that if you're not a sports fan, you're going to go, what? No. There's a good balance. Steve Zahn. It's Clayton Crawford, who I didn't know was still working. the guy that played Riggs in the Lethal Weapon TV series from quite a few years ago now, who ended up getting fired and replaced by Sean William Scott. Or yeah, so he was in it. I was kind of surprised, but it's an interesting cast. Not a lot of big names, but there's a heart to the story, and it's the story of a redemption. It's a guy who had everything like inches away from him, and he screwed it up. You know, his arrogance, he got a little too big for his britches and screwed it up on a national level, made it worse immediately, and pretty much ruined his life. And now he's trying to get some of that back. And it's arrogance that what he tries to do, but the life lessons he learns in it are really good. And you see, you start to get the character, you start to identify with him. So from that point of view, that's the part that reminds me of Ted Lasso, that it's got a solid story arc or character arc. And that's something I think Ted Lasso is great about. All the characters evolve and change and get better, no matter if it's Roy Kent or Jamie Tart or Ted or any of them. Rebecca, everybody kind of arcs towards becoming a better person, or even Nate, who arcs from being good to bad to good again. This is about the growth of the characters. There's some very funny moments. But the only knock against it, and I will pre-warn you going into it, is that it feels unfinished. When the 6th episode comes and ends, you're like, wait, no, we need more. Where's the rest? Are you sure that's the finale? Lisa literally turned to me and said, are you sure that's the finale? I'm like, yeah. She was like, for now, there's not another episode next week. I'm like, no. Are you sure? I'm like, yes. So obviously, it's set up for a second season. I don't know 100% if it's going to get one. But from a storytelling point of view, it's really interesting, those 6 episodes. They're worth watching, even if it doesn't come back, but it really needs to. So, but if you're looking for something to check out this weekend or this week, it's on Hulu. All 6 episodes are available. And it's light. It's a little bit adult. So I would definitely keep it above teenagers. You know, there's some interesting phrases and terms. But there's like no nudity, but there's a sex scene, but it's more implied and quick. So, you know, it's not that, you know, but there's some things that you probably don't want to hear young kids hear. Like, God fisting you. Yeah, that's talked about. It's a metaphor that gets carried over a couple times. Not sure why that's the metaphor choice, but yeah, that's the one they choose. So, all right, guys. Look, I got more time, but I don't have a whole lot of topics. So, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, hit me up now. Go ahead and throw it in chat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep rambling for a bit because I do want to try to do a full hour, but we're only about 35 minutes in. And if you leave me to my own ways, I'm going to start talking sports again because, again, just had the Dodgers and the Panthers win. So, trying to think about what else is going on TV-wise. There's not a lot of great stuff on right now. Any good Halloween stories from your past? You always have stories to tell. Halloween stories. Okay, I do have a Halloween story. I don't know if I've told this one before, but um, this was, I want to say 2003, 2004. There was a convention in Las Vegas. It was called the Extrusion. And if you speak to anybody who went to the convention, they will tell you that it is the worst convention they'd ever been to. It was on Halloween weekend. It was in the Bellagio Hotel's Convention Center, which is all the way at the back of the hotel. So you have to walk through the entire casino, past all their restaurants and stuff to get to the convention center. So you're not getting walk by traffic. It's not a very well advertised convention, but the convention people who are running it seem to think that they're the next San Diego Con and are treating things like it. They say there's going to be a giant Marvel presence. The giant Marvel presence was a company that took pictures from Marvel Comics, put them with inspiring quotes, and made those posters, where you have the picture and then black border and it says like hang in there, or the journey of 1,000 miles start with the first step. That's what the Marvel presence was. No writers or artists from Marvel or anything like that. I would not be far-fetched from saying that there was as many people working the convention as people who bought tickets to go to the convention. I was there with a company called Red Eye Press. I had done my book, The Conversation, and was hanging out there. The gentleman from Red Eye Press got food poisoning, so I spent all of Halloween Day running the booth by myself. So that was Halloween Day. But I was hanging out with a friend of mine. This was before I would travel with Tone. Tone was there, by the way. If you get a chance, Tone Rodriguez, he will tell you that story too. But I was there, and a friend of mine who used to live in Vegas, a model I knew, named Rhiannon Bray. Now, if you look up Rhiannon Bray, make sure your wife or significant other isn't, behind you, because she used to do adult stuff. She was on a Playboy TV show called 7 Lives Exposed, and her and I were friends. And I knew that she was from Vegas, and I said, hey, I'm going to go to Vegas for the weekend. I've got a hotel room. You want to come up? You could come to the con during the day, and you could, see your friends and stuff, and I'd give you a place to stay. And she's like, yeah. But she ended up, she couldn't go the day I was going, so she flew up and then drove back with me. But Halloween night, she wanted to go out on the town. And I'm like, okay. Now, I was much younger then. I was in better shape. What are the thoughts on the rumor of Jim Carrey playing George Jetson or Freddy Krueger? I love the idea of him playing George Jetson. Haven't heard about the Freddy Krueger one, but I do love the idea of him playing George Jetson. So I've had this horrible day at the convention. And I didn't have a Halloween costume. But she's like, you got to bring a costume. I'm like, I don't have to bring a costume. I don't have a costume. I don't have time No, we're going to go out. We're going to go hang out with my friend Passion, and we're going to hit the Vegas Strip. I'm like, okay. So what I did was I had, before that, I had been to Spencer's, And if you know Spencer's Gifts, you know that it's a store of just the most insane things thrown together. It's like Hot Topic meets the Sharper Image. And one of the things they had, and I'm really dating myself with this, is they had a sock puppet. But it wasn't just any sock puppet. And Ed will get this reference. It was the sock puppet from pets.com. It was the dog with the patch, looked a little like Artemis, with the little microphone, and that was the mascot of the website pets.com. And this was, when the internet was still growing, and it was one of the first online shops where you could get pet supplies. And they did commercials and commercials and commercials. So everybody saw this sock puppet, and he became kind of a celebrity. Well, I get back to the hotel and I'm tired, but I'm like, all right, I'll go out with you for a little bit. She goes, do you have a costume? I put the sock puppet on. I went, yeah. Sock, it's pets.com dog. She's like, oh, that's awesome. That's cute. That's great. So I'm like, well, what's your costume? She says, well, I stopped at the store and I bought this. And it's a prisoner costume. But it's a size small boys. I'm like, you didn't look, did you? She goes, oh, no, that's the size I wanted. So she pours herself into this little prisoner costume. And she goes, okay, we're going to meet my friend at this club, and then we're going to hit all the, I'm like, oh, okay. So we drive out, and we go to the club, and we find this girl, Passion, who's dressed as a cop. Mind you, they had coordinated. I think they also bought the same size. So now I am running around Vegas with two adult actresses, carrying a sock puppet. Now, most of the night was pretty straightforward. Oh, Ed says the sock puppet was on People magazine at one point, I think. It was even a Super Bowl commercial. Yes. Yeah. So that's the sock puppet I had. So we end up at the Rio in their little club area. And that's when things get really interesting. Now, we had been to a bunch of different places. We had popped in and out of clubs, out of casinos, and the girls were very popular. And I was just kind of hanging in the background, stuff like that. But then we get to the Rio, and two things happened at the Rio. The first was this girl who started paying me a lot of attention. And I mean a lot of attention. Like, I may have to tell Rhiannon to go home with Passion. Turns out, she thinks I'm the guy. I'm the guy who does the socket puppet in the commercials. She doesn't think this is a costume. She thinks I'm the puppeteer from those commercials. And that I just happen to be wandering around Vegas with my puppet. And somewhere my morality popped up and went, you can't do this. This girl is just too far gone. And I don't know if it was the alcohol or if she was just so determined to get herself somebody famous that this would work. But I ended up shutting that down. So I moved over to another group. And there was a guy there, and he was kind of, he was definitely drunk, but he was rambunctious and really getting in people's faces. And I started kind of smarting off, but not me. The puppet. The puppet starts making jokes at this guy. And he's going back and forth. And I'm watching, and I'm doing it because I'm kind of in character at this point. And I like using puppets. I've got a bunch of them. And eventually I see that this guy is a little too serious. The fun level is gone. He's now seriously arguing with me. So I drop out of the character. I'm like, dude, hey, it's okay. I'm sorry. He turns, and I realize this is the first time he's not looking at the puppet anymore. He turns to talk to me for a second and says, stay out of this. This is between him and me. And he points at the puppet. And I realized at that moment that Vegas is scary on Halloween night. My puppet almost got laid and in a fight. So yeah, I got out of there. That was pretty much the end of that. But yeah, that was a night. That was, yeah. So yeah, he was convinced the sock was real. And hey, maybe the girl was too. I don't know. I was assuming she thought I was the real guy because the way she was coming on to me. But, and I did end up going, just going back to my hotel. And yeah. And then the next day I went, spent about an hour or so at the convention, realized that it was horrible, called up Rhiannon, who is still sleeping. I go, why don't we head home? She goes, all right. So she got the truck, brought it over. We packed it up and headed out. But yeah. By then, the guy from Red Eye Press had gotten through his food poisoning and was able to run the booth, so he didn't need me anymore anyway. So, but yeah, that was my Vegas Halloween story. So, thanks for bringing that up, Ed. I'd forgotten about telling that story. It's been a while. So, anybody else? Any other questions? Had you played the Dead Body on Dexter yet? I want to say those took place around the same time, but no, not yet, because this was just before I started traveling with Tone, and that was when I was traveling with Tone. So it was before Dexter. Not a lot before, because that was the trip that actually got Tone to want to find someone to start traveling with. And we ended up traveling after that. So you're welcome, Ed. Yeah, I've had a lot of weird things happen in my life, a lot of moments, surreal moments. I don't know why this one popped in my head, but years and years and years ago, before I really even got into comics, I had a friend of mine who was a police officer, and I kind of liked her. We were kind of went out sometimes. We didn't. It was an on and off thing. But a friend of mine called me up, said he had tickets for a movie premiere down in Hollywood if I wanted to go. 2 tickets. He had got them off the radio, but wasn't able to use them, so I could have them if I wanted them. And he brought them by and gave them to me. So I said, great. So I called up my friend, and she's like, yeah, I'll go. Well, she had recently become a cop. And got dressed up for the premiere, realized she didn't want to carry her purse at the premiere, but wanted to have her gun and badge. And decided I'm the one that should carry them for her. So I take and tuck, I I'm not for this idea in the first place, but I'm like, oh, all right, no problem. So I tuck it inside the back. It's got a belt thing, so it's on the back, on the belt inside the back of my pants. And I got to drop the badge in my coat pocket. I'm in a suit coat, and coat's tails are hanging down, so it's all good. And it's a hammerless 38 5-shot, so it's not that big. But I'm walking into this theater, and it's a big theater line. It's back and forth, back and forth. And we get going, and as we turn the corner, there's all the media there, and the star of the movie is standing right there. And I'm 6 feet from him. And I nod, and he nods back. And I think to myself, there's an opportunity here. Because the star of the movie is Steven Seagal. The movie's Under Siege 2. And I have a loaded weapon. I can stop any more Steven Seagal movies. I could do it for humanity. I could end the terror of Steven Seagal movies right there. I didn't. I just went in. Felt awkward through the entire movie. Felt weird going to the bathroom knowing that I had a gun at the small man. It's like, how do you go to, But yeah. So just that brief moment I had, I could have stopped all the Steven Seagal movies after Under Siege 2. I still wonder some days. By the way, true story. Absolutely true story. Only the names were left out to protect the innocents. Any update on the Warner Brothers buyout takeover? Right now, I know Netflix is putting together a chance to try to bid. They actually got a hold of the same finance company, not a finance company, the people that put together the bid for Paramount or Skydance to buy Paramount. So they're using that company to try to put together the bid for Warner Brothers. I know Paramount still wants it, so they'll probably come back. At this point, I hope Netflix doesn't get it, because I don't like their model. They keep things out of the theater. They put everything on Netflix. They would probably fold all of HBO Max into Netflix. So yeah, I don't want Netflix to get it. Paramount, all right. NBC Universal, all right. At least Paramount has come out and said that if they buy it, their plan would be to keep Peter Safran and James Gunn in place. So, which is smart. They're doing well. So, but yeah, that's the last I've heard. I haven't heard anything else, and no other rumbles outside of what you're hearing online. So, yeah. So, oh, hey, I heard this story the other day, and maybe you've heard this because it's a few years old now. But did you know that the John Wick movies were not supposed to be called John Wick? They actually had a name, a different name for the first movie. The guy that wrote it, Derek Kolstad, was thinking about revenge thriller movies like Payback and went for the name Scorn, and that was going to be the name of the movie. The problem was Keanu Reeves was going out and about talking to all these different media companies about this movie he was working on. Oh, I've got this movie I'm doing, but he only ever referred to it by the main character's name. He kept talking about John Wick. And nobody knows why, or it hasn't come out why why he didn't call it Scorn, or if he hated the name Scorn, or what. But he just kept calling it John Wick. And eventually, the marketing department came in and said, Keanu Reeves has done about $4 to $5 million worth of free publicity for us. But for a movie called John Wick, not for a movie called Scorn. And it's like, oh. So they decided to change the name to take advantage of that. And now Derek Kolstad has admitted that John Wick is a much better name for the franchise. He goes, I was wrong. It would have been a horrible name. So it says, I never heard that before, but I only found John Wick by accident at Redbox because my wife and I were bored. So glad we watched it. Loved that movie. I found John Wick because I saw a trailer for it and I thought, Wick line? You know, you make that connection, you personalize it, and suddenly you want to see the movie. That and just how simple the premise is. They killed his dog. They stole his car. Now he's going to kill them all. I'm in. You said they killed his dog? I'm in. Does he need more bullets? I can start a GoFundMe. So, all right, guys, I think I am going to wrap that up there. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Ed, Jason, Mr. Cobe, everybody else who's popped in has had pretty good attendance. Please remember to hit that like button down there. I never do this, so forgive me, but please hit the like button if you haven't yet, if there is one there. If you're on Facebook, the thumbs up. And if you go to YouTube, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe. I'm going to start doing some other stuff. I got some plans. I am thinking of putting together a ranking video of all the Marvel movies. And trust me, my ranking will be very different than what you see most online. I have different opinions, but I look at movies differently. And I think that's the one thing, the reason I think that my voice is a little unique is that I look at movies differently than most people. That's because I come from a writer background. So, but again, thank you all. I hope you all had a good Halloween and you're doing good. And we will see you next week. Ed, take care. Jason, Mr. Cobe, everybody else, have a wonderful week. And we will see you very soon. All right. I will look for a perfect world.